SeatGeek is the smartest and easiest way to find tickets for the games you want to see up close and in person this season. With SeatGeek, you find great deals on tickets for NFL, NBA, NHL, or any sporting event or concert. Best of all, ESPN listeners get a $20 rebate off their first SeatGeek purchase. To get your $20 rebate on tickets, download the SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab, and click add a promo code. Enter the promo code J&J. SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. Download the SeatGeek app and enter promo code J&J today.
Hi, this is Reese Waters on the latest Off Center, Tom Arnold on what it's like to be in every black movie. Why the team you root for determines the person you are, kicking Uber game, and debunking the chicken stereotype.
And now, Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio.
When I pop the trunk, head the dirt. Y'all pop the trunk, I pop the hood. Now act stupid, I'll pop the trunk. Give me your boom.
He's Jalen Rose.
What up, dope?
I'm David Jacoby.
Uh-huh.
And we are Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN Radio. What are we going to do, Jalen?
Seriously?
You're still not going to sing?
No, the people have spoken.
Give the people what they want, Jalen.
I can't front. The people have spoken.
The people
loud
what they want.
And clear.
Give the people
and you know what we're going to do?
They want.
We're
going to do,
Jalen?
Yes! Yes! Yes!
What they want.
I'm so glad you're back, Jalen. I'm so glad you're back. It was weird. It was weird when you didn't sing for a while.
I know, man. I'm wearing Jordans and everything. It's just, man,
We're going to talk about that later. Steph Curry was 0 for 10 from 3.
He was.
His first game in like 157 games that he didn't hit a single three-pointer. That was against the Lakers. Well, what did he do in his next game?
Explosive.
Broke the record. He's like, I'm going 0 for 10. The next game, I'm going to break the record. I'm going to score more three-point baskets in a game than anyone in the history of the sport has.
See, this is where I appreciate separating those that cover the game for a living versus those who play for a living, because what gets overlooked between the two dynamics is the perseverance that happens, that gets so taken for granted. How do you respond when adversity hits is truly what separates you and catapults you to the difference between somebody that's pretty good on his high school team versus somebody that was all city, all state, all American. And then as you continue to evolve as a player, the higher the levels, well, tougher the competition, lower the numbers of people that can participate at that level. So once you get to the league, 30 teams, 15 roster spots, 450 total jobs. In the history of the NBA, only 4,000 people have ever played a basketball game wearing a uniform. A really unique boutique type of group. And we're going to talk a lot, and rightfully so, about the greatness of Steph Curry, a champion, back-to-back MVP, a unanimous MVP. But coming into that game, a player that averaged 30 last year hadn't scored 30 in a game all season.
What? Klay Thompson wasn't shooting that
well.
Klay
Thompson is still struggling shooting field goals. I consider them the Splash Brothers.
Number 1 and number 2 best shooters in the league.
Okay. And so when you go 0 for 10 against Luke Walton and the Lakers, we were actually at the game, covering the game. They've lost to them the last couple of times they faced them.
Mm-hmm. We blame it on the Los Angeles nightlife.
So now how you respond the next night. And I know it's the Pelicans, so you don't want to get too enthusiastic like it happened against the Spurs or the Cavs. But the one thing about the regular season is you must appreciate the journey. Yep. And I appreciate having a remote control in my hand watching League Pass. And on one channel, my Pistons were getting smashed by 30 points in the first half. We had 19 points halfway through the second quarter. So I just flipped the channel and boom, Steph Curry has 6 threes before I know it.
So if you didn't watch, the Pelicans didn't play bad defense. Like, they were closing out on Steph. Like, it really wasn't one of those, like, oh, I can't believe they left him this open type of games. They were closing him out. He was hitting tough shots and up faking.
The unique thing about Steph Curry is not that he's made more three-pointers during a season than any other NBA player. It's how he does it. Mm-hmm. The ability to boogie and do it off the dribble, he's the best I've seen shoot with range. Also, pump fake shot. Also, pump fake escape dribble. shot.
It's pump fake sidestep. He doesn't dribble in to shoot a two-pointer. He'll sidestep you. And you close out so hard because you're like, oh, wow, that's Steph Curry. He's about to shoot a three. I got to close him out. And the defender just goes right by him.
And did I say something about the double barrel release? Like, he gets it off so fast within a blink of an eye. And so if you're not there, it's clearly a better opportunity for him to make the shot. But when you do contest the shot and you don't block it, it almost seems like the efficiency doesn't drop as long as he can see the hoop. It has a chance to go in.
There was one that was like Draymond Green basically just kicked the ball over to him. It's getting fumbled around. It's just dribbling. And it's one thing when you're Steve Novak and you stand in the corner and somebody hits you with a pass. It hits you right in the chest and you
Kyle
just
Korver.
shoot it. Yeah, like those players. But Steph Curry is picking the ball up off the ground and shooting a contested three and hitting it routinely.
And also, we're talking about a great shooter. Now, I'll name some of the greatest shooters of all time. Larry Bird.
Lance Stevenson.
Who did it on the post, who did it mid-range, and who also did it from three. Catch and shoot and stand still. Reggie Miller, who did it in particular in transition, but deadly off baseline single-double screens.
Mitch McGary.
Ray Allen, who was almost a combination of those two shooters. I played with Dale Ellis. Same thing.
Joel Embiid.
The difference with Steph Curry is just as effective off the dribble as it is off the catch, which normally that represents two different players. So for him to be able to accomplish what he accomplished after his streak got snapped just speaks towards the perseverance that I appreciate that sometimes people overlook when they get caught up in the numbers in a stat sheet.
Is James Harden being overlooked?
He is.
Is what he's doing in Houston being overshadowed by the Warriors and the Russell Westbrook drama and everything? He had just a quiet 32-15 in a Rockets win against the Wizards. He's had 4 games of 30-15.
Ran into Tiny Archibald. Really happy to have done so. This year, when Shaq, AI, and Yao, who I love, but didn't deserve to be inducted in the Hall of Fame, because you should not get graded on the curve because you're an international prospect.
Back to Tiny.
Because that's another subject for another day. And we talked about a player possibly leading the league in points and assists.
Last person to do so was Tiny Archibald.
This was before Mike D'Antoni acknowledged that James Harden was clearly going to be the primary ball handler. When that took place, I came on this very program. You can go back to the lost tapes. It is on wax. I clearly said that will happen again. James Harden will be the guy that leads the league in points and assists. And you could correct me if this math is wrong. Last year,
it's probably wrong.
He had 3 games where he had at least 30 points and 10 assists. The entire rest of the NBA had 3.
It was 30-15.
Okay? So now you make him the primary ball handler. You surround him by guys who don't want to create. They want to catch and shoot. Trevor Ariza, Ryan Anderson, Eric Gordon. Now all of a sudden the floor is so spread. These are knockdown shooters. He led the league in total points the last 2 years. So he's proven he could get buckets, and I always talked about him being an underrated passer. He legitimately is about to make that happen, leading the league in points and assists. He's also going to lead the league in turnovers. Averaging 5 a game.
He might break his own record.
Which was a record last year.
Yup, he might break his own
for
record.
For the history of the
Steph
NBA.
Curry over here breaking 3 records like it's no problem. And James Harden's over here
we're
breaking
gonna
turnover
talk
records
about
like it's no
James
problem.
Harden's assist in the previous game. It's up to me to go deeper into the box score. And you know one thing I saw? He had 8 turnovers.
He has 5.3 turnovers a game.
And so I do appreciate the season that he's having, showing that he's one of the most versatile offensive threats in the game. And Tiny Archibald's single season mark of leading the league in points and assists will be surpassed, equaled this season by the beard, James Harden.
And we putting it on wax.
Week 9 is in the books in the National Football League. Right now on Jalen Jacoby on ESPN Radio, we're going to go through every single game in a rapid fire Week 9 week in review. Are you ready? Monday Night Football. Seahawks beat the Bills. But for some reason, all anyone is talking about is Richard Sherman roughing a kicker. What? When Jimmy Graham and Russell Wilson finally connect, all we're talking about is Richard Sherman roughing a kicker at the end of the half.
Jimmy Graham has responded from his injury. It's taking him some time. Mm-hmm. But beyond Gronk, now he's back looking like the second best tight end in the entire NFL. Yep. He and Russell Wilson had trouble connecting when he first arrived. That clearly is not the case anymore.
It seemed like Russell Wilson just met Jimmy Graham like 3 weeks ago. He's like, oh, you're on a team? I'm going to start throwing you the ball then.
And also, I haven't hid this fact. Richard Sherman is my favorite player in the NFL. And not only is he a lockdown corner who will pick the football off, but I love to see him blocking kicks and create controversy.
Can we hire him already? Can we make him an offer just to join the show when he retires?
I love how he popped the receiver in the end zone late in the game and didn't get caught.
Illegal.
Move on, please.
Cowboys 7-1 beat the Browns.
The Dallas Cowboys, as we've acknowledged, have shown that they're for real, led by 2 rookies, Dak Prescott, who clearly put on the show, who doesn't against the Cleveland Browns, Ezekiel Elliott, who leads the league in rushing, but it was all about Jason Witten, who had his first big game with the new rookie quarterback, caught a couple of touchdowns. Beasley continued to put up big numbers.
What he does. I just love Jerry Jones's tone change over the course of this run, being like, well, Tony Romo is our franchise quarterback, and it's his job, and he'll have it when he gets back. He's like, well, I don't know. Man,
I got to teach you something. This is the owner and the general manager, and this is a salary cap-driven sport, and they're paying Tony Romo more money than anybody on the team. They need to get some use out of him.
Keep it moving.
Remember when the Ravens were hot? Remember that? They were 3-0, and they were hot, and we were all excited about the resurgence of the Ravens and Joe Flacco.
Well, not necessarily. We talked about them not. We talked about bad meaning bad, not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good.
Well, they're not that good, and they beat the Steelers 21-14. It didn't look right for Roethlisberger out there.
The thing I want to say that we can't overlook while we talk about who's an elite quarterback in today's game, the first thing that media members do that is so easy is just count the rings. But we forget Joe Flacco has one also. Yep. And John Harbaugh seems to get more out of less than any coach in the NFL. When I see Mike Wallace, who's bounced around the last couple of years, catching 90-plus yard touchdowns against his former team, to me this loss is more of a reflection of the Steelers and Big Ben possibly returning too early.
If you had to summarize the Lions' overtime victory into one sound, what would that sound be? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. If you were to summarize the Lions' victory over the Vikings, are they first in the NFC North?
How about this?
Are they first? Are they in first place?
I got to teach you guys something about my cardiac Lions. I don't like turning on the television and everybody talking about we in first place and we're going to win a division. Hit the brakes. I live this. Okay, we've won one playoff game in 50 years. Where's Eric Sermon when I need him, please? Can you summon him to this program? I have to tell people to do something. I'm able to say this. We've trailed in the fourth quarter in every game this year.
5.
It just so happened that we won 5 of them. Big up 2, Matt Stafford and Golden Tate, who's gotten going.
Move on, please.
The Chargers beat the Titans in a barn burner.
This is one of those games where you try to check out on Red Zone.
It's a fantasy. It's a fantasy game.
Unless you're fans of one of these teams, you're not watching this entire game.
Chargers, I got some news.
He's all right, but he's not.
But anytime Melvin Gordon gets more yards from scrimmage than any player in the history of that team except LaDainian Tomlinson, that means something. Phillip Rivers continues to put up big numbers and play well. This is one of those games that when you look down at the end of the season, both of these teams have missed the playoffs. But it is one of those games that you say.
Chargers can make the playoffs. AFC is open. You know, the Chargers are like the Raiders. We're talking about the Raiders in the AFC Championship game.
The NFC is open. The AFC is not open. The Patriots reside there.
Keep it moving.
Saints blew out the 49ers.
Flintstone, Mark Ingram, putting up big numbers, running all over them. 139 yards before contact, which means their offensive line was doing a terrific job. Drew Brees seems to put up these type 300-yard passing, 3 TD games every week,
but doesn't necessarily mean the Saints win.
And the 49ers, under Chip Kelly, it doesn't matter who's on the center. Now it's Colin Kaepernick who got to close to 400 yards passing, but the numbers can be deceiving because they got down so big so early.
They end up throwing on first, second, and third down every possession. Yep. If the 49ers put up 23 on you, you know your defense isn't that good. Next, we have the Oakland Raiders beating the Denver Broncos.
Can I bury a media cliche?
Sure.
The one that says the NBA isn't as good when the Knicks and the Lakers and Philly aren't as good. Or Major League Baseball isn't as good when the Yankees aren't playing well. Yep. Or the NFL isn't as good when the
Why are you burying that?
Cowboys and the Raiders aren't good. You know why? Because those two teams really haven't been good in the last 10 years. And the NFL's doing just fine. Now they're doing well at the same time, and it's great. In particular, Derek Carr, who is looking to get a deal in the range of Andrew Luck.
He looked good. Trevor Siemian didn't look great.
And it's about the emergence continued of not only Amari Cooper, but Michael Crabtree and Latavius Murray.
Jalen, I have a very simple question.
What up, though?
Are the Packers good? I can't tell. They lost to the Colts.
Here's what I know as a professional athlete. And good win by Andrew Luck, who seems to, while hasn't been that player that has led his team to consistently, besides dominating their division, get the wins outside of that division. This was actually a big win for them. And you know why? Because Aaron Rodgers, man, he threw Mike McCarthy under the bus afterwards. Yeah. When you come out and say that your team didn't play with any injury, that's not a reflection of the 53 guys in uniform. That's a reflection of the head coach who's been there a long time. And that says something to management and ownership that his days may be numbered. You heard it here.
Here we go. I know you watched this game.
I did.
Giants,
Everybody
Eagles.
that knows me know that now, and it's only right, I happily do so, be on the Michigan Wolverines, staunch supporter of the UConn Huskies. Don't be surprised if you see me at a couple of games this year. Same as the New York Giants, representing my significant other.
The great Molly Kennedy.
Absolutely. And so, yes, I did see this game. I followed their scores closely.
I'm starting to believe that Odell Beckham might not have dated Khloe Kardashian.
Well, he caught 2 touchdowns.
I'm starting to think that maybe they really didn't date.
Sterling Shepard was the key. I think when he caught a touchdown, it kind of continues to give Odell that second weapon for Eli that now allows him to get open.
4,
It was unfortunate to see
3,
Victor Cruz
2,
hobbled again.
1.
But their defense has been playing a lot better.
It seems like Cruz will be
see
okay.
what's next.
But the Eagles all right, but they're not real.
They're not real. Chiefs beat the Jaguars in a kind of who cares game.
Same thing. We talked about that earlier.
Panthers, Rams. Now, the Panthers, this is a win for the Panthers, but when you only put up 13 points this season and you're the Carolina Panthers, you just still have to wonder about that team.
Well, this is what I wonder. When I see a D-back blitzing Cam Newton straight up the middle and gets a direct hit
A little elbow
on
to
him.
the back of the head. I like that.
That normally doesn't happen in pro football, especially for a guy his size with his vision and his mobility. It lets me know that he's seeing cobwebs right now in the pocket. Yep. And this is why
5,
he's probably wearing that
4,
hat to cover
3,
him up, to give him a
2,
chance to see straight.
1.
Did the Dolphins and Jets play this weekend?
Move on,
They
please.
did.
They played?
Absolutely.
They played?
And Ndamukong Suh felt like he was still in Detroit
They
rocking
played?
that Versace shirt in the post game.
I didn't know they even played.
But
you sure that happened?
how about Jay Ajayi, who's come onto the scene, 111 rushing yards, has become really dominant for the Miami
Jalen
Dolphins.
Rose. College football playoff rankings are out. Number 1, Alabama.
No surprises.
Number 4,
They have a quarterback named what?
Jalen. Number 2,
They're going to make it Clemson when it really should be Michigan.
it's Clemson. You know it's Clemson.
I know
you
how
know
the
it's
hype go.
Clemson.
I'll tell you why. I learned in these situations to follow the money.
Oh, okay, follow the money.
And here's what that sets up. You have Ohio State hovering at 5 or 6. We have a big football game against them. And then the winner of that game ends up getting the final spot. If you make Michigan 2 and then they lose to Ohio State, there's a chance they may
could
fall
both
to
be in.
4. And you don't want to have Ohio State as a 2-loss team in the playoff.
Didn't we kind of feel like going into the season that it was going to be the winner of Ohio State, Michigan that was going to be in the Final Four?
Well, you didn't. Because I told you we were taking this program to the championship, hopefully, because the Wolverines would be there.
Yep.
And I still stand by that. This, while a great Urban Meyer coached Ohio State team, the thing that stood out to me the most as somebody that's watched their dominance over my Wolverines over the past 10 or 15 years, didn't have the notable Heisman candidate that they normally have.
Nope.
Well, you know who has that? The Wolverines. His name is Jabril Peppers, and he wears number 5.
And he's always on the field. He's always on the field, so you can't miss him. He's always on the field.
So no surprise to the voters in that room of where everybody's ranked. You're not fooling me. I know Michigan's going to be 3.
Michigan's
Ohio
3.
State's going to be like 5 or 6.
Washington is 4.
Talk to me.
Ohio State
Talk
is
to
5.
me. Talk to me.
And Louisville is 6.
Okay.
So you're telling me that there's a conspiracy that the people get together and they say, do you know what we should do? We should keep Ohio State out because they have a big game against Michigan, and that will drive up the ratings, will drive up our money. I don't think it's always like, I don't think there's always these secret meetings that are like, you know, people in rooms wearing suits pulling the strings.
Nope.
I do think it's a conspiracy, but not because of what you said. We're going to put the 4 teams that are undefeated as the top 4 teams. Then what is one of the teams that could be upset by the apple cart? That by another team that's really ranked high. That's Michigan and Ohio State. Mm-hmm. So how do you make that game even bigger?
You don't have to make it bigger. It's already big.
You never get enough money. See, the one thing about Oprah Winfrey and Bill Gates, the difference between them and everybody else, when there's $100 on the ground, they'll push you out of the way to get it.
I think everybody else would do that too. I would definitely push them out of the way to get $100. I'd be suspicious though. Like, why is $100 just lying on the ground?
Yep.
Well, we are very much invested in the success of the Michigan Wolverines college football program. But I got to tell you something. This was the year I said, I love Jim Harbaugh. I'm on board. I'm going to be a Michigan fan. Me and Jalen are close. And I'm going to be like, I'm going to jump on this, and I'm going to be a Michigan fan. I'm going to watch these games. Some of the most boring games I've ever seen. Like, they're just so boring.
See, let me teach you how the small 2 sides of my brain works. On one side, my football brain roots for the Detroit Lions, a team that has never been to a Super Bowl and clearly never won one.
AFC North.
And 9 times
NFC
this
North Division
year,
leading Lions.
Guess what I was doing in the fourth quarter? Watching my team trail. So you know what happens on Saturday? I flip the channel and I watch my team throttle other squads.
Never trail in the fourth quarter.
And
who
enjoys it more than me? No one.
Who's got it better than us? I can't watch those games, Jay. I can't watch them. They're just not. They're unwatchable.
Those are the best.
Those are the worst.
Can't put Michigan at 1 or 2. Then if we lose to Ohio State, we're still 3 or 4. They don't want 2 teams from the same conference in the playoffs. 1. 2, they would rather not have those 2 teams, but one of them have 2 losses. Come on now, follow the money.
Nigel Hayes wants some money.
I like him.
He made that clear. He went to Countdown when there's a big Wisconsin football game, and he had a big sign that said, broke athlete needs help, and he said that you could pay PayPal some money, right? Now, him and some of his athlete friends at the University of Wisconsin have released a statement on Twitter, and it has some pretty serious allegations. You should read it all. But it says that he feels uncomfortable as an athlete on that campus. He feels uncomfortable as a black man on that campus. And he thinks he gets disrespected as a student and as an athlete, and more importantly, as a human. And he details all the different ways, not just him, it's not about Nigel Hayes, it's about this group of athletes on the University of Wisconsin. I know you saw this today. What did you think?
I appreciate individuals, in this case, that happen to be collegiate athletes who are socially and politically conscious. That means so much to me. When you're knowledgeable about a topic, you're able to articulate a point, and you have passion and know what you're talking about. Regardless of what it is. That's how we get the dialogue. This is how we get closer to solution. The troubling thing that's no surprise to me, and I only can speak from my personal experience, is the dynamic that takes place and it happened for me, is growing up in the inner city of Detroit that's majority black, playing in front of public school fans that are also majority black. Then when you sign your letter of intent to a college or a university, because, by the way, there's a reason why those athletes, in theory, are steered to what's, I guess, considered white universities versus black universities. You know the difference? One of them has a lot more money. Mm-hmm. Okay? And they're playing on TV, have massive facilities, are paying their coaches multi-millions of dollars. So that just suppressed the black collegiate experience. This is why you don't see All-Americans in football or basketball even considering going to black schools. That theory passed a long time ago. The dollar took that away. So now what happens is you become a big fish because everybody knows who you are in a small pond because only 2.2% of us.
There are 40,000 students at the University of Wisconsin, and 2.2% of them are black.
What? So what happens is while you're appreciated, and in his case, feel like he's adored as a player that played in the national championship, started on the team, was a preseason Big Ten All-American. You've accomplished so much as an athlete, but when I always talk about the score of the game or the game of life, this is when you start to unravel the fact that there's a difference between being a student athlete and a human being. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually being treated different because of my points, rebounds, and assists, not necessarily because I'm respected or appreciated. And a lot of the things that are talked about in their quotes and some of the things they have been called, and how about a fan showing up at a game with a Barack Obama mask with the noose around his neck? You can't make this stuff up. So now if you don't speak on it, you continue to suppress it. So now I appreciate that they're not only talking about it, showing up at game day with signs, but now putting it on social media. Kudos to them.
And one of the things they spoke about I wanted to ask you about was sort of like the way that they were treated as student athletes. They were saying that professors were dissuading them from taking their classes. They said that other students didn't want to like join up with them in groups because they were sort of perceived as people that didn't take their education serious. Do you think that that's true, or did you experience that when you were in Michigan?
You experienced that as an athlete regardless of color. Yep. Because you fight the perception of being an athlete versus a dumb jock. And that's why in high school, I took pride in being a student that wasn't on the honor roll, that in college was fortunate enough to make the dean's list, that I am a college graduate. Because as an athlete, how many points, rebounds, and assists you have are the headline. The actual story is what you're able to do in the classroom. And only a small amount of people actually make it to the pros. And we know those guys who have that one-and-done potential or that two-and-done potential. In his case, a guy that's going to be there multiple years. In my case, somebody that was there for 3 years. It's important to continue to shatter those stereotypes.
Jalen Rose.
Yes, sir.
Lance Stevenson had a groin injury. Needed surgery. He tweeted a picture of himself looking sad, wearing the surgical outfit in the hospital. What did the Pelicans do?
They cut him.
They just said, thanks, Lance. Good luck. Bye.
This is one of the harsh realities of being an athlete that usually don't play out in the NBA or Major League Baseball that take place in the NFL because of guaranteed contracts. Yep. Lance was in a unique spot because he was on a non-guaranteed contract. He's bounced around the last couple of seasons trying to find a home. And when a team, though you're a veteran, feel like they're taking a chance on you, of course you're willing to bet on yourself at that point.
Mm-hmm. And he played well.
The head-scratching part for me, if you're the Pelicans, you clearly have struggled to build a quality roster around Anthony Davis. Yep. You won't be a playoff team this year. Nope. And there were a lot of nights, and we joked about this, that when Anthony Davis wasn't on the floor, we like, where's Lance? Lance was actually
their second option.
Productive player.
I'm telling you.
So what's baffling to me beyond the fact, and it's just unfortunate, when a player gets hurt, being cut is a part of the business. But for me, it would seem like they would actually nurture, keep, and try to have him a part of the team because he was doing well and they had him for cheap.
But let me play the other side of this.
Based on the salary.
The other side of this can be he can't play for us, so we're not going to pay him to play for us. We don't have to pay him.
I know, but there's something to be said for nurturing an individual during an injury and hope that player comes back and is productive. We can talk about multiple cases. You don't have to just be an all-star level player like Paul George or number one pick like Joel Embiid. You see teams do this all of the time. Find a guy, think that he has potential to continue to to develop, and then you have that guy as a part of your program. Now all of a sudden say that he heals and he ends up signing somewhere else. You just help the guy's value on the basketball court that's now playing for another team.
Yep. You have not seen the last of Lance Stevenson playing in the National Basketball Association. A guy who was taken care of by his team, Dennis Schroeder, signed an extension. They have made him the starting point guard of the Atlanta Hawks. So he's 23 years old. And like when you're in college, you and your college buddies always say this, we're going to open a bar. Wouldn't it be cool if we opened a bar?
Or if you're a big dreamer like me, you like, can't wait to get a mansion one day, and I'm gonna have a hot tub,
with
cold
in the basement,
water, and it's gonna be filled with 40 ounces. OE, no doubt. Not even thinking, they're bottles.
and refrigerators you can just put them in the fridge.
And speaking of never gave you money, I'm glad you just said that. The kicker for the Raiders, you're going to make it so there's never a black kicker ever in the NFL. I'm going to say what everybody's thinking. You haven't heard anybody on any network say what I'm about to say, but I'm going to say what everybody's thinking. You don't usually see a black kicker or a black punter. Big shout to Reggie Roby. He definitely comes to mind 20 years ago.
The Dolphins
from Minnesota. He comes to mind from 20 years ago. Now I see the Raiders, second best team in the AFC. So many notable young stars on the team.
What are you going to say?
Now their punter, who's productive, doing well, he can't control himself.
Nope.
He want to do the horse. He want to ride the pony. He wants to celebrate after every time that he kicks the ball. He needs, and I'm going to suggest, to go download, purchase, whatever he has to do, every episode of Dave Chappelle. Yep. I want to summons him to do that.
Why is that?
So he can hear what you just said. He needs to see the episode of Rick James. He needs to see what happened with Wayne Brady. He needs to understand these stories when you're a minority and you represent the only black punter or kicker probably going starting or backup in the NFL. Don't mess it up for us.
Yep. I like the dancing. He can celebrate. We always talk about the no fun league. Oh, the ratings are down because people aren't allowed to express themselves, not allowed to have fun. And here he is out there expressing himself, having fun within the rules, and you're telling him to stop.
Jacoby,
you're telling him to stop.
There was a difference between how Joe Louis, the champion, needed to behave during the early 1900s in a country that didn't allow black people to express themselves. I'll just say that kindly. Mm-hmm. And Muhammad Ali when he came along, because the country had progressed somewhat, but clearly he took it to another stratosphere where we needed to go.
Sure.
Calm down, kicker. Allow it.
Pinning him with the 10.
I got to give him some game. At least allow us to have 25 or 30% kickers, and then you act up. Don't act up yet.
That's fair. But there's another thing is just like from a sports fan.
What's his name? Marquette King is his name.
From a sports fan perspective, is your team just punted the ball. You just gave the ball to the other team. It's not really time for celebration. After a takeaway, after a turnover, after a touchdown, then you can celebrate. The fans are celebrating. Fans don't get excited on punts.
And you know what else? We've seen players and kickers. We've seen position players, in particular kickers, actually get injured celebrating. Again,
Oftentimes
I
kickers.
have to tell him,
comes to mind.
you're representing the minority, bro. You're the only black kicker or punter in the league. At least allow us to get in the door. I know we had a black president for a couple of terms.
Jalen, this is a post-racial society.
No, look at the kickers in the league.
Post-racial society.
All right, when you get a chance, tell me how many kickers and punters in the league. And then you tell me how many of those guys are black. And then you tell me how many of the other position players in the whole league represent that same margin.
A man can't dance without being criticized.
Should never gave you money.
A man can't dance without being
I'm
criticized.
telling him what's being said. I'm telling him the texts and emails that he don't see. Shouldn't have never gave you money.
I support you, Mr. King. I support you, even if I didn't know your name at the start of the segment. Jalen Rose. Dennis Schroeder got a big deal.
He did.
He's in Atlanta.
Yep.
He's got some friends over from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
They're sitting around one day and they're like, let's open up a hookah lounge. Let's open a hookah lounge and we'll call it DS17. There's so many things about this I want to talk to you about. Okay. So they open a hookah lounge. They call it DS17. He hosts like after game parties there and stuff like that. However, when you do have an establishment and when you do charge customers for food, you're going to get inspected. Inspectors found, quote, heavy fruit flies and fly activity in the main kitchen, grease and food debris on the walls. What do you think about Dennis and DS17?
We talked about that on this fine program. If you're an athlete, entertainer, public figure, or somebody else even thinks you got money, they always have an amazing idea of how you both can get rich, but by sacrificing your money.
Yeah, of course. All I need is your money, and we'll both get more money.
And I distinguish three things that when you go down a tunnel and you see a light, it could be a train. One of those things, record label. The other thing, clothing line. The third thing, restaurant. And you said kitchen, correct?
Mm-hmm. Heavy flies.
And in 2016, those get inspected to the point where now you can go to your favorite dining experience and the grade is right on the window. You don't even have to walk in.
I don't want an A, B, or C, though. I want the number out of 100. I want the number out of 100. I want to notice how poorly you did. They found flies everywhere. But here's another thing is, I never understood the hookah thing.
Nope.
I have something for that as well.
Like cigars, I've tried to smoke hookahs. It just doesn't work. It doesn't taste good. It smells. They burn forever.
So here's what I have to tell young people. They've been bamboozled.
Yep.
They've been hoodwinked.
What?
They've been led astray.
What?
You see so many hookah lounges nowadays. What that represents is a version of flavored tobacco.
Yep.
I'm old enough to remember when you could promote the use of cigarettes. And it was cool to see a former president like Ronald Reagan in ads. Or Hank Aaron, a terrific athlete, in ads. You got to have Lucille Ball and Ricky Ricardo in the ad. You have to. So as that dissipated and the Surgeon General was required to acknowledge how bad tobacco smoke can be for you, you weren't allowed to then promote the use and advertise cigarette use as much. To the point where I remember where people were able to smoke cigarettes on the airplane.
What?
Okay? So now, what did they do? They did the remix, baby. And this is what happened. They repackaged it, remixed it, bamboozled the public, and you know what they did? They made it cool.
Yep.
And now you see the big clouds of smoke of people when you walking up the street, and it almost looks like it's coming from a tower inferno. Cats blowing smoke out of vaporizers that you can't even walk through without coughing and getting secondhand smoke. And now the hookah has become what's considered cool, hip, current.
Okay. Who is the greatest player to ever wear a Hawks uniform?
Dominique Wilkins.
Did Dominique Wilkins open his own nightclub?
He did, as well as Dominique Wilkins. No, he did, as well as Deion Sanders.
Here's the thing. Dennis Schroeder, you're not Dominique Wilkins.
No.
And you're not Deion Sanders.
No.
Like, you got to earn the reputation. I'm not going to call up my homeboys and be like, what should we do tonight? Let's go over to Dennis Schroeder's hookah lounge and kick it. That's just not how it works. You're not there yet, Dennis Schroeder. And you got to keep the food off the walls. You can't have heavy fly activity. There can be a fly here and there. You can't have heavy fly activity in the kitchen.
No, here's what you can't do. Just get your new money this summer and then do this venture. Because you're better off being a silent partner with somebody that actually does this and you're contributing versus putting DS17 up in lights.
Who wants to go to DS17?
I got some more game for you. In what can be considered relatively a cash business, when you're not standing there to count it and oversee who is counted because you're on a West Coast trip for the next 7 to 10 days.
If it wasn't charged on a credit card, you're not seeing that money. you're not seeing that money.
There's a reason. How many times have we been places? This happens, I'm pretty sure, to everybody that frequents at happy hours, bars, restaurants. There is a waiter or a waitress that says, you know what? I know that drink or that tab is probably $20. Hey, just give me $5. Or, I'm going to just discount that drink for you. Because they'd rather you give them the tip. That's what I would do. And here's one other thing. You work in a service business. I had to do this 3 times this week. I used to work in a service business. Okay, I carried bags at the store. I shoveled snow at people's homes. I cut grass. I delivered newspapers. If you work in the service industry, and I got a poignant example for you. Goods cost $8. Individual gives you a $20. Don't give me back a 10 and 2 ones.
Unless you want a $2 tip.
Because you know what your tip's going to be?
Get a $2
$2. You give me 2 5s and 2 1s. So now you can get a $5 tip.
Or you would get to give yourself the option. Give yourself the option of getting the bigger tip. You should be smarter than that.
Yep.
You want to go to Dennis Schroeder's Hookah Lounge?
Not at all.
Heavy fruit flies and fly activity. Do you think the fruit flies were heavy themselves or there were lots of them?
How about this? Not just in the kitchen. In the main kitchen.
In the main kitchen. The side kitchen, there are fruit flies in there. It's the debris on the wall, the food debris on the wall. You can't have food debris on the wall.
And here's the thing for you athletes out there. I made the mistake. I got my favorite number tattooed on my right bicep. And you know what happened my last year? I wore number 8. It's my good luck number. I still love it. And it helped put me in a position in my head to do a lot of things that have happened in my life. And I'm really fortunate it became a catalyst of a name that's now a common name. Don't put your number next to your initials.
Can I give young people some advice, some similar advice?
No.
If you are going to get a basketball-related tattoo on your arm, whether it's a basketball or a hoop or someone dribbling or someone shooting, it basically says, I play basketball. You better be getting paid to play basketball.
No,
because you're going to get older. You are going to be that 35-year-old fat dude with a basketball on your arm that cannot get a bucket in a bad pickup game.
That's why I don't feel as bad, because I got some buckets wearing number 5.
You sure did. You sure did. Some of the people I play against, I'm like, wait, are you a fan of the game? Is that when you got that? And did you get that your sophomore year of high school?
But here's one of the toughest parts of being an athlete, though. When it ends, people still attach themselves to their number.
Why'd you wear number 8?
Because number 5 was retired in Phoenix.
Jalen, sneakers are very important to me.
They used to be important to me when I was growing up. I'm a Detroiter. Top 10s, Forms, Concords,
very
Filas,
important to me. And I found myself as I
Pumas.
got older just purchasing all of the sneakers that I couldn't have growing up. I think that's something that happens to a lot of people. However, you never, ever, ever, ever wear Michael Jordan sneakers. Michael Jordan doesn't support hip hop. So I don't support Michael Jordan. You even have me thinking twice about wearing Michael Jordan sneakers. Today, you showed up in Michael Jordan low 2s.
So as I got older in the league, I didn't have what's considered a real shoe deal. So there were a couple of times in the league I was kind of able to rock whatever I wanted to rock. Mm-hmm. So I did wear a couple of, if they weren't Jordan's Jumpmans, but as I just acknowledged, I guess it's being born and bred in Detroit, it was always about Adidas. Run DMC, this was hot.
Why are you wearing Jordan sneakers today?
I'm wearing Jordan sneakers today because like when Steve Young won the championship from Joe Montana's shadow, it's a monkey off my back. I finally forgive my vendetta against a guy that played on the Chicago Bulls against my bad boys. I rooted against his entire career. I love you, Doug Collins. So much so that there's footage of Coach not only with my guy Oakley fighting my Pistons, but he's throwing punches. The coach.
Good for him.
Yep.
So now as the league continues to graduate, he becomes a champion, the greatest of all time. They go through my Pistons after we won 2 championships. Big shout to the bad boys. And again, in my head, when they finally beat us, I'm in the line with the team when we walk off and gladly don't shake their hands.
None of this has anything to do with the fact that you are now wearing Michael Jordan sneakers.
This is where it started. You have to understand something. As a native Detroiter, we still booed Michael Jordan. We didn't become bandwagon fans when he became great. You know how when the Golden State Warriors travel and you go to the road arenas and they get cheered like they're the home team? You saw what happened with the Cubs on the road when they won the World Series and they were cheered like the home team? That didn't happen for Michael Jordan in Detroit. No. They were truly our rival, along with the Celtics, along with the Lakers. Magic from Michigan, favorite player of all time, 6'9" point guard. He got a pass. Michigander. Larry Bird became my coach, the GOAT. I rooted against him his entire career, too. It was real in the field. But I wore them weapons, though, because Isaiah had those. But for Michael Jordan, then I happened to, fortunate enough to make it to the NBA. And what happens in 1998? Michael Jordan's last championship, we play against them. I'm a member of the Indiana Pacers. Mm-hmm. While winning those championships, they've only gone to a Game 7 once. It was in that series. We were thumping them in Game 7 in the second quarter. They clearly came back and won that series, and you remember how the season ended with him crossing over Byron Russell and making a shot at the free throw line.
Yep.
But what made it more personal is being a perimeter player, a substitute. My job was, Jordan scoring you 2 straight times, I'm taking you out. So you know what I'm doing? I wasn't playing D like the Kobe 81 because I was a scorer then. I was a skill player then. I was a vet. I was getting points and assists. But when I was a young player, hustling. So I'm trying to guard this dude, block this dude out, trying to keep him from getting a couple of buckets on me because those were my minutes.
Sure.
And before I know it, I'm underneath the basket. I'm looking up at a rebound. This is mine. All mine. And then there's a gentleman nicknamed the Black Cat who just does a forearm shiver to the back of my head.
So in Game 7, Michael Jordan elbowed you intentionally in the back of the head.
It didn't have to get to Game 7. It was in Game 5. It was the game when Reggie pushed him off and made the game-winning shot. It was that game. And so I'm like, first off, that's a foul. I'm looking around like,
they're not going to call that on Michael Jordan.
Nope.
Secondly, he showed no remorse, no respect, just totally just disregarded how he tried to bully me.
Would you expect him to apologize?
No, I just wanted him to be like, my bad, or like, you know, whatever.
That's not how it's going to work.
Like, he literally just act like he picked up something that I dropped and gave it to me. Like it was no big deal. And so I'm looking at like this dude disrespected me.
You know what? I would never wear his sneakers if someone elbowed me in the back of the head like
and
that.
So,
I would never wear the sneakers.
So because
I want you to take them off.
It's different when you're a Lifetime fan.
Take off the sneakers.
Because Lifetime fans, you know what they do? They embody their teams. And there are people out here that aren't winners in life but think they're champions because the Yankees got 27 championships. And that's my squad. And you know what else people tend to do? Watch your friends and media types, because you know what they gravitate to? The teams with the most championships. So there's no surprise you see people talking a lot. And just so happen their favorite teams are the Yankees, the Lakers, the Celtics,
Hold on.
the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Dallas Cowboys. That's everybody's favorite teams, coincidentally. So
Can you answer this question?
when you're out there on the floor competing,
Why are you wearing the shoes of someone that elbowed you in the back of the head trying to hurt you?
Because I'm over it now. I didn't get a concussion. I'm retired. Been retired almost a decade.
Wait, you're retired?
And they're cold. So I'm rocking them.
Behind me in this studio, you don't care about what we say on this show at all. All you care about is what's on the walls in this studio. That's all you care about in this show, right? I had a picture of what used to be my favorite sneaker, the Michael Jordan 1s. You told me to take it down. What? You told me to take it down.
There was a Team
And I took
USA
it down.
picture.
And I took it down.
How about the
And
Team
now
USA
here you
picture?
are walking into this studio on the shoes that Michael Jordan has his name on. The man that elbowed you in the back of the head, kept you from going to the finals time and time again, tormented your whole entire basketball life, and now here you are walking around with his name on your body.
I'm paying homage. The Hornets are 5-1.
Take the shoes off.
Congratulations.
Take the shoes off.
Kimba, Batum.
Take the shoes off.
But also, he's the Black Cat, and
Take
they're
the shoes
cold.
off. Take the shoes off.
So I'm rocking them.
Take the shoes off.
I'm just fortunate enough that I've been on the same floor with him.
You know who sent some flowers? Paul George did. He kicked the ball into the stands, hits a young lady in the face. What? So he sent her flowers in a little note that said, I didn't mean to hit you. It was unintentional. I hope you feel better. You got to do a little bit better than that, Paul. You kicked the ball and hit her in the face. You can't just be like, hey, I hope you're okay. Get tickets to a game. I got you this Pacers outfit. Here's a signed picture. Come over to my house for a barbecue. You can't just send a couple flowers.
I played with that organization almost 6 years, and Paul George is my little brother. I would not be surprised if not any or all of those things still take place. Stay tuned. Pump the brakes.
He said, Lindsay, I'm sorry for the ball hitting you at the game on Saturday. It was not intentional. Hope you are feeling okay. Paul George. He didn't write that. He definitely didn't write that. I'm sorry for the ball hitting you at the game on Saturday. This is not how people talk. I'm going to give Paul George a pass on this one. Something tells me that he had nothing to do with those flowers being delivered. Chris Boshs has signed with Rob Pelinka, Kobe's agent. What does this tell you?
Well, it tells me a couple of things. Played with Chris Boshs. Consider him a good friend. Played with Rob Pelinka in college. Just ran into him the other night at the Laker win over the Golden State Warriors. What this tells me, and I'll get more intel about it, is Chris Boshs isn't done playing basketball in the NBA.
Nope. If you remember, right around when it was sort of announced that he would not be playing for the Heat, he fired his agent immediately. So you could tell that behind closed doors, he thought it was his agent's responsibility to get him back on the floor. So apparently, Mr. Pelinka is working on doing just that, and stay tuned for more information. Uh-oh, here it is. Tim Tebow baseball career update, Jalen Rose. Tim Tebow hit a walk-off, slam, laser, single down the left field line past the third baseman to propel the Scottsdale Scorpions over the Mesa Solar Sox.
I've seen a pinball game with the ball being returned harder and bounce less times than his hit did down the third base line.
It's a walk-off single. It's a walk-off single. They couldn't even get that too excited about it. They didn't even really celebrate it like they won the game.
Is he hitting 146?
146. 146 through 12 games. When is this gag going to be up? Like, when am I going to stop doing the Tim Tebow updates? I think it's time. I think this might be it. This might be the last Tim Tebow update.
Come on, man.
I'll keep doing it. I have to talk to you about something. I think the mannequin challenge is corny.
Preach.
And I know what you're thinking. Oh, he's just a hater. He's going to hate on everything. But the problem is the way that the internet works now is once something gets big, it gets so big so fast that everybody's doing it. It cannot be cool if Jerry Jones and the Cowboys executives are on a private plane, be like, we got to get in on this. You can't be doing the same thing that Jerry Jones is doing and be like cool at the same time.
Like Hillary dabbing.
Well, guess what? Hillary's already done a mannequin challenge.
See?
It's just, it happens so fast nowadays that, like, unless you started it, don't jump on it.
Correct. And we tried to be at the forefront of starting not following trends, especially ones that we feel like are just fads. And this is why, and we've talked on this fine program about there's certain things that we ultimately want to retire because we feel like they're overdone, they're played out, and people are still doing them. And the word swag should not continue to be used. Like if somebody says that word, like you should just delete them from your phone. Yep. They say it on television, you should just change the channel. Yep. That should not happen. I have another one for you. And I was guilty of this young, but I broke myself of it real quick.
What's this?
As I started to pay attention to the severity of domestic violence, hey fellas, the thing that you're wearing is an undershirt.
It's an undershirt.
Okay? It's not a wife beater.
Stop calling it that.
Stop calling it that.
And once you hear Jalen say that, you will stop calling it that. Because once you hear it, you're like, why am I calling an article of clothing this thing?
And those are the type of things that continue to permeate in our society. When you just adopt something and you continue to say it until you actually pay attention to the meaning of it. We're not doing the mannequin challenge on this show.
Nope.
I appreciate, however, people are trying to do things that are creative, especially
I'm not
the
mad
Cowboys.
at people doing them. I watch them.
No question.
They're fine. I
No
like the Black Beatles
question.
song too. But like, it's just, you have to be careful with these things because like the internet is so quick to just cannibalize its own content and just eat its own tail before something even gets to develop as a trend.
It was the same way when I was growing up. I paid attention that, you know what, hot top fades are cool, but they're not for me. I love Ice Cube, but I don't want to rock a Jerry curl. There were just certain fads that I didn't want to follow. Here's another one that I saw happening, and first and foremost, I appreciated the funds that were raised for ALS. More funds than had been seen for that cause ever. Mm-hmm. And this was the Ice Bucket Challenge.
Yep.
So here's what I want people to do. I want you to go up to somebody that did that challenge and ask them what ALS stands for.
Do you know what you could do after you ask them what ALS stands for?
Donate.
Ask them how much money they donated to the channel. Oh, no, I did the channel. Oh, you saw me? I poured the ice bucket on my head. That's what I did for ALS.
Correct.
I used my influence. I put that on social media just to make people aware of the disease. Like, you know what you probably could have done? Just donated the money.
And that was one of those things that while it went viral and basically in theory is named after Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig's disease in a lot of ways. Was something that I felt, you know what? If I want to participate, I could just donate. I don't have to follow the trend and act like I want to now pour an ice bucket over my head. So am I doing it to be seen? But then I told myself this. It's almost like taking a knee for the flag. If you're creating awareness behind it and you're willing to still do the challenge, it's awesome. And I appreciate how the funds continue to overflow for so many people that needed it. I saw so many stories of people that benefited from how those funds were distributed, and I'm a fan of that. But again, I challenge you for some of those that were... Where's Eric Sermon?
Get off the bandwagon.
Go up to them and say, what does ALS stand for? You did the bucket challenge. I saw you on YouTube.
Jalen Rose.
What's happening?
It's Do-Rag History Week.
Interesting.
How come you don't wear a do-rag for your waves that you care so much about?
Oh, man, you got me pulling you behind the curtain.
You must learn.
You ever heard of a phrase called black don't crack?
Yes.
I only decided I wanted to have some versions of waves when Reggie Hooks joined this program and he had them. Mm-hmm. So it became a competition.
You're losing.
And I have never worn a do-rag because I didn't want the lines on my forehead. That's really the only reason. Until I learned that there are ways that you can do it without putting lines on your forehead. But again, I'm the same person that wanted to have a cold tub with 40 ounces of Old English when they're clearly bottles. And that
I don't understand what you wanted out of that. You wanted to fill the tub with beer?
Come on now. What do you do when you have that frat mentality? You have the bucket of beers with the ice.
Have you not seen the G-Thing video, though? Have you not seen the G-Thing video? They show you right there. This is how you fill the refrigerator with 40 ounces.
Jacoby, I'm a child of the 70s. I was dreaming about this way before the G-Thing video, sir. I was in the league. I was in college when that came out.
S-Hot24 wants to know, how is Jalen feeling about the Lions potentially coming out of the NFC North as a playoff team? You hate this.
I don't get too enthusiastic about my Lions publicly except after a win only. I'll roar.
They just won, you know that, right?
I will roar to the top of my lungs when we win. The rest of the 6 days of the week, I'm shutting up.
Next question, semi-related from
I see you, Matt Stafford.
Are Seattle and Dallas the only real NFC contenders this year?
I'm going to say something that's unpopular.
Don't do it. Okay, do it.
I don't see Dallas as a true, what I consider, contender. I think on a Sunday.
Hold up.
Now, by the way, this is one of those things that isn't a popular opinion until it happens. When the playoffs come, the two teams that are going to be in the NFC Championship are going to be the Seattle Seahawks
and
either the Panthers or the Cardinals.
So the Cowboys,
who have the best record in the NFC.
Oh, no, there's no undefeated teams.
I'm saying that the Cowboys will not make it to the NFC Championship game.
And we putting it on wax.
Well, we'll see.
Big shout out Dez Bryant. Get him the ball, Dak. What's happening? Get Dez the ball. Until I see Dez catching the kind of touchdown passes that other elite receivers around the league, that's what's going to win playoff games. Yep. This is what's happening right now. It's cute.
Cole Beasley's cute.
Yeah.
That's cute, man.
Yeah. It's okay. But if they're going to really take that next step and beat the teams that I just talked about, I need to see Dez. And he's not on my fantasy team. He's just one of my favorite players.
Next question that we have is from Vidal. What are your thoughts on the Knicks hiring Rambis as a defensive coordinator?
Hit the brakes. So, Phil Jackson, let me get this right. You inflate the salary of NFL, you inflate the salaries of NBA coaches by offering a first-time coach, whether it's Derek Fisher or Steve Kerr, who gave you the Heisman for the job, $5 million a year.
Mm-hmm. Helped a lot of families by doing so.
Then Mr. Fisher was fired because the team wasn't able to progress and win basketball games. By the way, he's getting $65 million, not only to be the president of basketball operations, but you thought that he was going to actually be able to recruit free agents to come to New York to play basketball.
Derrick Rose? Brandon Jennings? Joakim Noah?
No.
No, that's not what you have in mind?
And so now you hire another coach, Jeff Hornacek, and you told us that he wasn't going to be a puppet.
Don't forget about Rambis for a while there.
I'm gonna give. I did that speed bump on purpose.
Okay.
Now you currently hire Jeff Hornacek, you promised that he wasn't going to be a puppet. You give him a 3-year deal. You know, it ain't going to be about the triangle.
We love what he did in Phoenix.
We love what he did in Phoenix. We're going to allow him to cook. And you know what? We're going to run some versions, some intricate parts of the triangle influence. But we're going to let him do his thing. So now you back up the truck to your longtime great friend, Kurt Rambis, still on the staff. When you look at an NBA coaching staff, the guy that continues to stay regardless of who the head coach is, that guy's the mole.
He's the snitch.
That guy's the snitch.
He's a snitch.
And here's what I want to say. You mean to tell me that the assistant coaches don't already have input in the defense that they're running?
What? Well, they didn't have specific delegations or responsibilities as specifically offense or defense. Now they have told Kurt Rambis that he is the defense coach. What?
You know what happened when coaches meet?
No.
Do you know what happens even when you're watching a basketball game and the players are sitting on the sideline and the coaches in their suits and their dress shoes are standing and they're in a scrum talking to one another?
They're whispering and they got a clipboard.
You know what they're doing? They're actually talking about the things they should do. And those decisions, like we joke on this show about me taking your things off wax and or vice versa, gets collaboratively, however the heck you say that word.
No, keep going.
You collaborate on what's going to happen. Plays you're going to run.
Sure.
On the offensive side of the ball, on the defensive side of the ball. And you know who gets the credit and or the blame?
Head coach.
Correct. So whatever Jeff Hornacek has been doing, he's already been getting that exact advice, influence, and support. And by the way, this is the Kurt Rambis that had the opportunity to be the head coach and do whatever he wanted to do.
Oh, wait. And he did that in Minnesota for 2 years when his teams were 28th and 29th in a league of 30 teams in defensive efficiency. What?
Phil truly didn't clearly want to hire Mr. Hornacek. He wanted to hire Mr. Rambis, as I said. Yep. So now, quickly, he's shifting.
Thank you so much for listening on ESPN Radio, for watching on ESPN2 and ESPN News, and subscribing.
Thank you.
To the Jalen and Jacoby podcast.
You're far too kind.
We give the people what they need. We give the people what they need.
My truck was stolen the weekend that I drove up to ask my wife to marry me. It was covered by USAA. They were able to give me the money right away so I can get back on the road.
We got married in my parents' backyard right before one of his deployments.
With USAA, they understand that there's deployments, that you're going to be away, and ultimately they try to make everything easy for you.
USAA truly understands the commitment to service. They always say, you've served your country, so we're here to serve you.
It feels great to know that my family will be insured through USAA and they will receive the same level of attention that I've received. We're the Villanueva family, and we are USAA members for life.
USAA. We know what it means to serve. Call today to start your insurance quote. 800-531-USAA.
Members paid for their participation. Membership eligibility and product restrictions apply and are subject to change. United Services Automobile Association and its affiliates, San Antonio, Texas.
Red Hot USC heads to Seattle to face 5th-ranked Washington.
72 yards, the big play strike.
Coverage begins Saturday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.